We made it to my personal favorite and guilty pleasure of playing often and sometimes mindlessly, power chords. What's a power chord? Power chords are founded primarily in rock and other derivatives, okay? So rock, classic rock, punk, pop, metal, you name it, power chords are a root, a foundation of those genres, okay? Here's some classic riffs that you can check out. Generally, power chords are going to be played on two or more notes. Two or more, usually 2 to maybe 3 notes, okay, depending on how you're using them and what kind of emphasis you want to have with a power chord, okay? So why are they called power chords? Let's go start from there. Power is essentially just because they're powerful. They're powerful. They stand out. When you play a power chord, there's power behind these things, right? They sound rock, right? They sound foundational to rock and just the way that they kind of play. You can play power chords all over the fretboard. There is nowhere that the power chord shape doesn't work. Okay, so power chords are just awesome and you can use them in many, many different ways. Sometimes too, and so I'm demonstrating to this first of all on an acoustic, right? And I'm definitely going to get into an actual guitar in a second here because in my opinion, power chords are so much better when you're playing through an amp with an electric guitar and kind of making some of those things happen. And so far, we've just stuck to an acoustic. Now, before I get to the electric side, I do want to show you kind of quickly that acoustic music does have a place for being able to play power chords, okay? Like some of the types of power chord shapes and then allowing open strings to be played as well really carry just an entirely different vibe and feeling that can just sound fantastic. Like take this power chord, for example. They just sound good, right? Like there's many ways you can... So power chords have their place in acoustics for sure. And there's many different songs out there that do a fantastic job of this. But I still think that their main roots are in rock. So let's check out what makes a power chord a power chord. All right, so let's introduce you to how power chords work, okay? I'm gonna give you the primer on the acoustic guitar, but it generally translates better on electric. And that isn't to say that acoustically you can't play them. There's plenty of rock songs out there that acoustically play power chords on these as well. But for now, I'm just gonna give you the basics here. And then when I start to introduce you to some of my favorite beginner riffs, okay, I'm gonna be playing those on the electric. So you can follow along with your acoustics all the same, but I will tell you on some of them that are a little bit more distorted, it's not gonna quite translate the same way, okay? And when you do decide to step up, if you do, to an electric guitar, guitar. I'll have plenty of other videos to introduce you to how an electric guitar works, what you can do, heck, even what you can get started with on a budget to be able to get the cheapest bang for your buck, if you will, of being able to get started with an electric guitar and an amp, or even using some software. You can even use your cell phone now, which blows my mind. This is a boomer moment, but there's so many different ways that you can get started for very, very cheap now. So I'll help you get to that point as well. Okay. But anyways, let's introduce you to a power chord. How I'm going to do this is I'm actually going to show you what's called an A5 power chord. I'm going to give you a little bit of a demonstration of how you determine what the shape is of a power chord, okay? And then I'm going to give you the easiest way to know how to do it, because I'll be honest with you, all the information I'm going to give you, you can kind of let go in one ear and out the other if you like. You don't need to know the theory of it, because the shape is going to be the exact same across the board. So I just want to give you enough information to get started with it so you're in the know. And then I think once you get the power chord shape, you'll carry this on probably for the duration of your time playing the guitar. So let's take a look. All right. So first of all, I'm going to play an A on my 6th string, my low E string here. Okay. So A, if you remember, is E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. Okay. So your 5th fret of your 6th string is your A. Now, if we think to scales, I introduced you to a C major scale. Well, let's treat this as if it's an A major scale, okay? And when I mentioned the intro of this power chord, I said A5, okay? So what this means is if you walk up the scale of A, right? A, B, C, D, E. E is the 5th note in the A scale. If I complement that with an A, so playing the A note on the 5th fret of the 6th string, and I also strum the same time the 7th fret of my 5th string, the E, putting A and E together in this case, is an A5 power chord, okay? You can even step this up and get fancy and go a 3-finger power chord, which essentially does the same thing, except for you take your index, put it on the 5th string, your 5th fret of the 6th string. You're going to stick your ring finger, 7th fret of the 5th string. You're going to take your pinky and put it on the 7th fret of your 4th string. So anytime you're going to do a 3-fingered power chord, okay, it's just going to complement whatever your lower finger is here. You're going to complement the next string down with that same fret, okay? So this is a 3-finger A5. A little bit more full, not a huge difference, but it can convey a little bit more power. And honestly, it makes them a little bit thicker, especially when you're using an electric guitar and you have some distortion going. These 3-fingered power chords come through a little bit thicker. You'll understand that a little bit more when you start to learn about acoustics and a little bit about mixing. But when you get into this, a 2-fingered power chord is just a little bit thinner. Nothing wrong with it. There's plenty of reasons why you do this, okay? But as an accentuation, as most of these notes and musical arrangements are in songs, sometimes it can make a little bit of a difference, okay? So I told you the theory now of being able to make the power chord shape. Now, I want to tell you how to remember this and make it really easy on yourself, okay? So your A here, your root note, which remember your root note is your lowest note in your chord, which a power chord, again, by definition, is 2 or more strings, or chord definition is 2 or more strings strummed at the same time. So in this case, you're having 2 strings at least strummed at the same time. So this is a chord. Power chord is simply the shape that we're making here with using fifths. And that's exactly what you can do here. Okay, so let's take your root note, which is your A on your 6th string. Okay, and the way you can remember making the shape is to go to the next string up from the one you're trying to fret. Okay, in this case, it'd be the 5th string on the 5th fret and walk up 3 frets. So counting the one you're on now. So on the 5th string, go to 5, okay? And then go to 6, then go to 7. That's 3 frets, okay? So anytime you're going to play a, say for example, an A power chord, you're going to always put your secondary finger, your ring finger, 3 frets away from where your first finger is, 1 string down. You can always remember that. That shape is going to remain the same. Just stamp it in. See, you can play them anywhere on the fretboard. Now I'm going to show you a little bit of an exception, okay? An E5 Playing an E power chord, a low E power chord, is slightly different than these shapes. I'm going to show you why. So I'm going to walk down. So your E, you play it open on your sixth string. It's just simply strumming, right? Well, what do you do here to make a power chord with that note? All right, so let's walk from our A5 down, and let's try to figure out how we would play an E power chord, an E5. What do we do? Ran out of room here. Where do I go? Well, this is how it works. This is how these shapes work. As you remember, right, your notes continue to loop around per string at this 5th fret mark, right? With playing your 5th fret here being the same as being able to play here. So your A on the 5th fret of the 6th string is the same as playing an open A on the 5th string, which is your open 5th string, right? So you can think about this as, well, if you're playing 3 frets away from your low E, that would technically be the 2nd fret, okay, of your 5th string. So playing open E and the 2nd fret of your 5th string is how you play an E5. This is the exception to your general shape that you see here playing power chords. All right, now the same is going to apply if you move up a string. If I want to play the same on my A, well, I'm going to take the 2nd fret of the 4th string, right, and then play my A, my 5th string open. Right? Well, that's how you make the power chord shape there too. It's the same thing as... Cool, right? So that's a little bit of a departure, but the same exact rules apply for how you make these shapes, okay? So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to some of my favorite beginner riffs, and you can play along with them, and we'll get you some music. I promised you we would get here. We are finally here. The day is here. Let's get into it. Rock on. All right, let's talk about Nirvana. Smells Like Teen Spirit. Such a strange name. I never did understand quite where that was, but it's an undeniable grunge hit, right? Maybe not my favorite Nirvana song ever, but I'll be honest with you, it is a classic. It broke through to mainstream, right, to bring grunge to the masses, if you will, at the same time as some other very influential bands were happening, but you couldn't deny just the intensity and the chaos of Nirvana, and Kurt Cobain, obviously, for the forefront. And his playing is no different. So there's argument about like Kurt in terms of a player. I'll never judge anyone to that level. I have massive respect for the guy. He had all kinds of ways of doing things different that it made it unmistakably Nirvana, unmistakably Kurt Cobain when he played. And a lot of that was his way of playing, his style. Honestly, he just threw a lot of chaos into his playing, as well as his rig setup and what he had there. Like there's a lot of things happening, but this song's no exception. When you play it, there's a lot happening here in terms of the notes, the structure, and just some of the flow too. I don't think there's a lot of songs that necessarily play like this. Like even in that era, say if you compared like with Pearl Jam or something like that, they don't really play like that either. It's really unmistakably Nirvana, especially with this song. So this is a great intro to be able to give you some of this. There's some timing changes that happen in this song. There is some interesting notation, specifically when you're playing muted notes, right? And instead of just doing palm mutes like I've been introducing you to a little bit, right? There's finger mutes that are happening across the strings as well, where you almost have these chord shapes kind of stamped into the fretboard, but you're not actually pushing down, right? For a couple of these parts. You're going to see what I'm talking about in a second, but I want to introduce you to this concept so that way you can understand what happens when we get into playing that part, okay? So let's get right into playing the song. Really straightforward. You basically have four placements that you're going to have for power chords, and the rest is just going to be muted strums, and sometimes there is a open okay, on 3 strings, which is an interesting concept with this. So you'll see what I mean. So let's start out by getting you set up. So you're going to be doing 3-finger power chords, okay? And you're going to start by putting your index on the 6th string's 1st fret, your ring, your 3rd finger, on the 3rd fret of the 5th string, and your pinky on the 3rd fret of the 4th string, okay? Okay, so that's your 3-finger power chord for that. All right, now it's going to be a quarter note and then an 8th note playing the same thing. So down, down, up is going to be your strumming strategy on this, okay? Okay. Now, comes that what I was just mentioning with the muting. Lift your pressure off your fingers and just try to strum with your fingers like on the strings like you would be fretting, right? But don't press down. That's what I want you to do for this part. Okay, so you're gonna play 2 quarter notes, up, down, of that. Okay. Then you're going to just take this shape and move it up a string. So you're going to keep your fingers exactly where they were on 1 and 3 on the respective strings, right? And you're going to step up. So instead of 6, 5, and 4, you're going to go 5, 4, and 3. Okay, so. All right, same thing, same strumming. That 1 quarter note and then an 8th. All right, so. Now comes this open. Open on 4, 3, and 2. And then you move on to moving this exact pattern, doing the exact same thing on 4 and 6, respectively, on frets for the 6th, 5th, and 4th string. Okay, so. Now there's no open at the end of that open right there, 4, 3, and 2, there's no open on that second set. So when you're playing up on the 4th and 6th frets and you move to the 2nd position, right, it just ends there and loops back to the beginning. That is the classic Smells Like Teen Spirit Nirvana riff. Please have fun with this. This is a good one. It's a good one to show you timing. It's a good one to show you that separate way, another method of being able to string mute, right? And being able to do that. And also throwing in some opens as well as stamping in power chords and then moving them around. All right, let's dive in and talk about Black Sabbath's Iron Man. Classic rock song. Most everything from this era of Black Sabbath is just power chords and single notes for the most part, but less is more in this case, and they do a great job of being able to really make that music stand out with limited complexity, which I really do love. At the time, it wasn't the most complex thing either, but at the time, they did push some boundaries. There were some things that they were doing that were different, like even that behind the nut and bend you saw at the beginning. That's more of an intermediate or advanced thing. But when you saw me playing the example, I was doing that, the behind the nut bend. This is something that wasn't really super common to be done really ever. I mean, a lot of people don't do that, right? There's a few bands that do, but it's not necessarily a super well-known tactic that people use to be able to do these kind of crazy things, especially for intros to songs. So it's interesting. Anyways, let me teach you the song. All right. So we're going to get started with a standard power chord. We're going to use 2 fingers only. So these aren't 3-fingered power chords. They're 2-fingered. We want that on purpose because the sound kind of comes through a little bit more thin with the way that the song plays, and it's kind of done on purpose. Okay, with the way that the mixing was for that song. So we're gonna play it the same way so you get the effect. Okay. So we're going to do our index finger on the 2nd fret of the 5th string and your ring finger on the 4th fret of the 4th string, okay? You're gonna do this for 1 quarter note. 1. Then you're gonna go up to 5 and 7 respective. So your index finger, 5th fret of the 5th string, 7th fret of the 4th string. Now, when you do this, you're gonna have a rest in between on this note. So rest is basically going to be play this note and then mute your strings, wait for a beat, so wait for a quarter note, and then play it again. Okay. Now, the next thing you're going to learn is a slide. So it's kind of an easy slide, okay? Now I could teach you a 1-finger slide. I'll teach you a 1 first, so that way you can get the gist, and then we'll put both fingers into that part. Okay, so for the next part, you're gonna go. Okay, that's a slide. So let me demonstrate to you what we're doing here, okay? You're going to leave, and in this case, let's just do it with 1 finger to get started. So I'm gonna show you this just 1 finger. I'm trying to tuck my fingers most I can here. 5th fret of the 5th string, I'm gonna take my index finger, all right? And I'm going to place it in a, maybe we'll just, I'll hold my fingers like this, because if I don't, then I'm gonna show you a bad technique of having my fingers flat. I don't wanna do that either. But let's take this into example. So just hold your other fingers kind of near here, okay? We're going to leave our finger on the 5th fret. We're going to strike the string, right? So it's like that. And then we're going to slide our finger up to the 7th fret on the same string. Okay, so just try that. Here you go. So that's a concept. Now you just take both fingers, place them into that power chord, okay, and pull both of them up to that spot. Okay. Now, this is going to tear up your fingers. You're going to feel this. You're probably already still feeling, some things as you're building calluses and doing some of that. This is no exception. Doing this a lot is going to tear up your fingers, especially when you don't have calluses to be able to support them. So, take it easy. Don't put a ton of pressure when you're getting started here. If it doesn't sound perfect to get started, that's okay. Get the concept and feeling of being able to navigate across those couple of frets in that transition. And once you start getting a little bit more seasoned with your calluses, then you can start to rely on those a little bit more. I'm also going to give you some other techniques later on in this course. At the very end, I'm going to add some supplementals of things you can do to help, because I do know that if your strings aren't clean and aren't properly lubricated and such, especially if your hands are a little bit sweaty or doing anything like that, you're going to find that your strings are going to want to grab more to your fingers. And that's not necessarily a good thing, because doing these types of slides and such, it's going to hurt. It's going to actually feel like sandpaper on your fingers when you're kind of doing that, even more than it has to. So there's a couple of products you can get to put on your strings to coat them that can help. That can help to kind of lubricate a little bit of that. I use what's called fast fret on the majority of my guitars. After I'm done playing, every time I fast fret. I'm not paid by this company or anything like that, but it's a great product. I will share with it my routine of doing that. I'll also show you a couple of other products that you can do. You can also buy strings that are coated as well. But anyways, sorry, I digress. I'm sorry to involve so much more when you just want to learn the song. So let's get back to it, okay? But yeah, you'll take your time to be able to do these slides, but the slide is just like that, okay? So far we have quarter note, rest, quarter, slide, okay? So once you do this slide, you're gonna let this ring for a quarter note, and then you're gonna strum it one more time. We'll talk about it. Then we're going to do another series of slides. Now, this is where you're going to have to master the technique a little bit to be able to get this next part to sound right, okay? We're going to go up here to put the index finger on the 5th fret, on the 5th string, 10th fret, and your ring finger on the 4th string, 12th fret. And you're going to go back and forth from this down 1 and then back up again, okay? So both fingers are going to move from 10 and 12, okay, to 9 and 11, then back to 10 and 12 a couple of times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so in total, you're going to have 6 notes, 8 notes basically, that are... Okay. Now back to that slide again. So let's do it a little bit faster this time to show you the whole thing. Okay, Let's do it one more time. Now you play with me and try to at least keep some of the speed. I'll go slow, okay? That's Iron Man. Practice each part of this, okay? I know there's a couple of new things in here. The slides are probably going to get you, like I said, to get started. So really take your time and just start to feel out the song. Playing with the song's easy. It's most of the song, so that's what makes this great, is you can just leave the song kind of on repeat. You don't have to keep repeating the same, like, few seconds of time at this riff. It's basically the whole song. So it really does help you to be able to listen to it. I think it's a 5-minute song too. So practice with this, really kind of get into it, because being able to master these slides and transitioning up and down, especially getting to the point where you're coming up here with your power chords, that's really helping you to also start to unlock and explore your fretboard. And this is probably going to get you to the point where now you're going to start saying, oh, hey, I could play a power chord up here. I can go over here. I can go over here, etc. So getting familiar with these slides and being able to go a little bit further and explore is going to really be helpful from our standard box that I've kept you in so far. All right, let's get going on the next one. All right, finally, Metallica, For Whom the Bell Tolls. Absolute metal classic. Great riff. Absolutely love the song. There are so many good riffs in this song, and I'll be honest with you too. I think there's lots of different places that you can pick rhythm guitar riffs out of this as you progress and really find your different stages in the different placements of the song. It's a fairly long song, and each passage, right, has a different way of being able to give you something that's a little different, sometimes harder, sometimes not, right? It's still not that hard of a song. I mean, in all reality of most of other Metallica songs, it's a fairly straightforward one, but man, it's a classic. It's so fun to play, especially when you start getting a little bit better and can start to pull all these together. So revisit this song as you progress. If you're into this type of music, it really will help you start to get some great riffs, especially with the solos and some of the other parts. Just, it's really, really good. Anyways, let's get you into playing this song. All right, so this is going to use mainly just the technique of palm muting. Okay, I don't think there's anything too special that you need to know besides that. So let's play the riff really fast. Okay, just so you got a little bit of that. All right, so palm muting. We're going to palm mute opens on the 6th string. Okay, so instead of being able to play it like this, open with no fretting, we're gonna put our palm right on the bridge, same way as I've told you to mute in the past, but you're going to strum when you do this. You're only going to strum, striking the 6th string. Okay, so you're gonna keep everything muted, and you're just gonna strike on that 6th string 3 times. Okay, just like that. So to get started even with this process, literally just start by no playing, just going like this, and then eventually when your downstroke feels like, okay, I kind of feel comfortable doing this, start to incorporate your upstroke. So that way you start doing this, okay? Now, this turns into an advanced thing, and I don't want to get too far off the path, but this is going to eventually lead to what's called trill picking in metal, which is more like, okay, that style, it's trill picking. There's a lot of different ways you could fill it. You can follow through a bunch of different patterns to like really make trill picking a lot of fun. And it's definitely giving your wrist a workout, and it starts really getting you into economy picking and doing a lot of these things. So you'll start to pull these concepts together in your journey. Okay, we'll get to that. I'm going to get to all of these things in a further course with intermediate and advanced such. So I'm going to get you there. Okay, but for now, I just want you to be able to start to get comfortable in palm muting and striking the string to have this effect. Okay, so first 3 notes of 4 in the 4th bar is going to be those muted notes. Okay, now for the most part, this is one other tip, with this song in particular, especially with James Hetfield, he mostly likes to do downstroke only. He doesn't do a lot of economy picking. He doesn't do a lot of up and up strokes when he's playing. His classic thing is just lots of very fast downstrokes. It's a way to really emphasize each note because he wants each one to ring clear and be very poignant, right? Because upstrokes, they don't have as much leverage. Remember, even when you're doing your chords, so we were visiting being able to play a chord and you would do the upstroke. Remember, you were only hitting the lower section, right? When you were doing this to begin with, when you were playing chords. The same applies when you're doing power chords. You're usually your upstroke is just not going to have the same punch, the same power that a downstroke does. It just might not quite work there, but it's a little flatter. Okay, maybe you can't even hear this on the microphone, but I can tell you in the room, it's a little flatter. You can hear it if you're playing it that. Anyways, so as a tidbit for this riff, do downstroke only when it comes to actually playing it. When you're practicing palm muting, though, please do economy picking and actually do this upstroke with your downstroke, because it's only going to help you get faster with being able to do that. You're going to want to have that control. Okay, so first 3 notes, open with palm mute. Okay, and then you're going to hit a power chord on the 6th string, 3rd fret with your index, and 5th string, 5th fret with your ring finger. So you're going to do that 3 palm mute. Now you can just practice that part, getting from a muted state to then playing a power chord, okay? And then go right back to being muted again, because what you're going to do is you can actually go back and forth with this set of power chords. Okay, so it's mute, 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 3, 5, mute, 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 5, 7, mute, 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 3, 5. All right, and then immediately you're going to go up here, and we're going to go 6 and 8. So 6th fret on the 6th string with your index, and 8 with the 8th fret of the 5th string with your ring finger. That was a mouthful. Okay. And then you're going to come down here to 6th string, 2nd fret with your index, and 4th fret with your ring finger. So let's play this through again. Okay. Now you're going to repeat the same thing over again. Except for this. This is going to change. So that part right there, I just put 2 extra strums in there with the palm mute, okay? So this is where it changes. So far you have now what you're going to go for the next one is after you strum this once, this 3, 5, you're going to do 2 palm muted opens. Okay. That's the rest of it. So right from this section, right? So sorry, I keep jumping around on you. I'm trying to think of an easy way to slow this down, and it's honestly, it just moves kind of fast, so it's a little hard to navigate. So let me get you playing from the beginning, stop this part again, and then I'm going to pick up from the piece that you don't know now. Open, and then you're going to strum that once, the 6, 8, right? Then you're going down to 2, 4. Then you're going to play 1, 3, and then you're going to play open 2. Okay. That's the riff. It's a lot of repetition, right? So once you get that pattern, it's gonna feel pretty natural. You do have that extra couple of palm mutes that get thrown in there right before you hit. But for the most part, you just repeat this twice, right? And obviously you have that last 1, 3 and open that you're going to have there. But yeah, that's the riff. really good riff. There's a couple of riffs on this album of Ride the Lightning that actually is very similar to this, right? So I encourage you, listen to parts of that album after you get done with this and start to feel more comfortable with some of the things that we've looked at here. You're going to find that you're probably going to be able to lock in and play some of these other power chords in almost identical format. And a lot of those songs are in the same kind of pacing too. So it's really going to help you to kind of like get there, because this isn't a really fast metal song, right? For Metallica even, this isn't speed metal like it was with a lot of their other stuff. Granted, it's still going to be fast for you from being a beginner, right? But when you build to this is going to be a good place for you to be, because you'll definitely be able to play other types of music if you're into jazz or doing anything else too, where you're going to be able to slow down a little bit more, but you're going to have that ability to go fast if need be. But more importantly, you're going to have the ability to have a little bit more proficiency and precision when you're doing this, because of playing this type of style to get started. Okay, so practice it up. Let me know in the comments how this goes for you as well. I know this is probably the hardest one out of what I've shown you of the 3 riffs so far, so I really want to hear from you on how you progress with it and just what you take away as you're practicing that was the most difficult. So let me know. I definitely want to talk to you about it. All right, day 7's a wrap. We say goodbye to our intro to power chords. It's almost sad. I absolutely love power chords. I love teaching them. I absolutely love playing them. I had a blast being able to make these examples for you guys and going back to some songs that quite honestly I haven't played since I was a kid. I had a ball doing this. So I hope that this is beneficial to you. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Please let me know in the comments how you progress and what your thoughts are of some of these songs. What was hard? What was fun? What did you learn through this? You know, did you find techniques that made this a little easier? Were you able to refine some of the things that I showed you to open yourself up and really start to sound like the song? Play along with the song, please. Not just with me. Start playing with the song. Feel comfortable about trying to overlay yourself with it and see if you can get to that speed and make that happen. Again, I had a blast. I hope you did too. Please make sure you continue to have fun. Make sure you take care of yourself. I want to see you in day 8. Let's go.